Welcome back, everybody. In this video, I'm going to show you all about my final project for the class on distance education. Here we go. So this is a website I created this past spring that I've been working on, and the idea was to put all kinds of class readings on here for next year, primary and secondary sources. So there's a lot on here that we don't need to look at, but this was a great place for me to make my flipped lesson. So what I did was I took King Philip's War lesson that I've given year after year, and I decided to add to it to help it out and to flip part of it. So what I found is that the traditional lesson I've given is an historical investigation in which students ask what caused King Philip's War. And year after year, I have hated this historical background section where students find out the context before King Philip's War. I've hated it. I felt that there was, they deserved to know more about what's going on at the time before they ask this and answer this question. So, but I've never really found the time to, give the proper lessons. What I did was I decided to flip that part of it so students find out about the relationship between natives and the English leading up to the in-class investigation in which they answer the question. I think they go hand in hand really nicely. I've wanted to do this for a long time and I wanted to see what happens. So when they enter, the students will have their entire flip directions of what they need to do. Lesson plan, it takes about 5 days for them to do the whole thing. That gives them enough time to complete the few elements they have to. Now on Schoology, I don't have any courses right now, so I can't show you how I would upload this to a class because it's the summertime. But in the resource section, I created a folder called the Native Americans and the English folder, and this is what the students would see, and it's all in order. I've got the directions, which are the website directions. I've got the Choose Your Notes organizer, which I'll show you in a second. I've got the video and the links, but primarily Schoology will be used for the assessment part, which they come and do a discussion and they do their learning check, which I'll get to shortly. So here are the objectives. I can identify and summarize the essential events between the Native Americans and the English, and I can make a prediction about what would be the most direct cause of an upcoming war. There are 3 main sections that they have to do. First, they choose a graphic organizer and they watch a video. Then that I created. Then they upload it to a Padlet where they can see everybody else's graphic organizers. They do the discussion back in Schoology and reply to 2 peer posts. And then finally, they do a learning check with some questions in which they have, chances to redo and get up to an 80%. So I can see that they've mastered the basic knowledge. So I've broken it up into sections. In the notes organizer, they have 5 different notes organizers to choose from. There are 3 Word documents here, the box notes, the bubble notes, and the Cornell notes. I've also added 2 digital versions here, which I really like. This one's called MindMup, and it's free to use, and they can download their, webs using this digital tool. The other one I like is Read, Write, Think webbing tool, which I show you here, which they can make a web, and then they can, download a copy of their web. And the idea is that they would upload that to Padlet. So after they have chosen their notes organizer, they have to check out the video I made. And the video I made is 5 things you should know before King Philip's War. It's less than 5 minutes. It covers the real skeleton knowledge that I want them to know. I've also added a video transcript here, so if students are having problems with internet, or if they want to, or they don't have internet at home and they want to download it at school, or they just want to read, they have the video transcript here, and I also have a Spanish version over here, which I think is really nice as well. I've also created the Quizlet vocabulary, which is also required. So they have to check out the video and they have to check out the Quizlet vocabulary, which has got all the terms from the lesson that they can review after that they have viewed the lesson on the video. Next, they add to their notes. This is one of the coolest parts because I have split up all the subtopics in this lesson, things like Thanksgiving and Puritanism and the Pequot War and these other minor events that go into the whole concept of natives and the English. And I've added all kinds of links and resources, tons of them. And so their task is to add to their notes and add to their webs. And they need to complete, at least 25 different notes. That's what I would tell my standard class, but with GT or another advanced class, they could add even more. But I'd have a requirement of at least 25 notes because there's 5 different sections of their notes, going from like population change to the Pequot War, things like that. Next, they add to the Padlet, which I created, and I've given directions here where they title it with their name, they upload their graphic organizer, and then they rate their peers with 5 stars. And the Padlet looks kind of like this. and I've uploaded a blank graphic organizer. They would put their name up here, and they could share and rate their peers with the 5 stars down here, which I really like. Finally, the last part of the lesson is a Schoology discussion and learning check. This is one of the best for the distance, learning, community building, and things like that. They go back to Schoology, where I have their discussion and the flip lesson learning check, and they answer the discussion based on what you've learned. What do you predict might have been the single main cause of King Philip's War? And they respond to 2 other students' posts with insightful comments and things like that. And then they do their learning check, which is 5 multiple choice, 5 ordering, and 10 vocabulary. And they get multiple times to do that. So, and then I also have a help section here at the bottom. So all in all, what they can do is they can take 5 days to check out this entire lesson, complete their graphic organizer, respond to the discussion, and then do their learning check. So ideally, when they come to class, we can do our historical investigation, and we can look at their discussion, we can look at the data of the learning check, and then we can dive right into the investigation in which they look at these 2 primary sources. And I think it'll be really good for them to have this flip lesson to, get the learning beforehand. So thanks for checking it out, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.